Alright, as we leave Hilo, we're headed northwest now. We're going to follow over the water for a little while. And basically the Hamaku coast. It's kind of the north shoreline of the island for a little while. Great opportunity to watch for marine life. Got to get lucky, but whale season is just beginning, and there is a chance. So we'll keep an eye out for the whales. And in addition to whales, it's always possible we could see a sea turtle or manta rays, sharks, schools of fish. I mean, I don't know, it could be anything. Tepekeo Point ahead to our left here, this little chunk of the island sticking out. In the little bay on the left, so this is Onomea Bay, there's the botanical gardens over here. Pretty nice if you're driving this side of the island and stop into the botanical gardens. Actually, to get to the botanical gardens, there's a 4-mile scenic detour you can take. That detour, even if you don't stop at the gardens, is still super nice. The clock ticks faster on these days, yeah. And ticking time, whoa, yeah. We'll be under the moonlight, dancing away like. I'm kind of looking extra hard right now because this morning anyway, there was a little whale and a mom and a baby kind of in this area this morning. And I mean, they move around a lot, so who knows where they are. And plus, they could be down in a dive when you go by and you never see them, but it's definitely worth watching. Have any of you done this drive, Highway 19? It's a really nice drive. If you're going to go one side of the island to the other, at least one direction, I'd do this one. And, the scenic detour is pretty cool. The botanical gardens, on that scenic detour, there's a little shakes and smoothies shop called What's Shakin', and they have their own fruit farm, and they put all of their own food into the smoothies. It's super good. Oh, it's nice too. Alicia, is that your winter vacation home right there? Pretty nice. I heard that's where VJ Singh lives. I don't know if we follow golf. I don't actually follow golf, but that's what I've been told. The real big bridge over here on the left, it's an original railway bridge. Now you can see that's where the road is today. Highway 19, right? But Highway 19 sits on top of the old rail line. The railway was here for the sugarcane industry, and, well, the sugarcane industry ended up going away starting in 1959 when Hawaii became a state. But the railway closed down in 1946, which was prior to all that, because of a tsunami. You see the waterfall? We'll see more of them too. There's a bunch of them all along the coast here. I like to think of these as the appetizers. They're pretty good. There's a bunch of them, but you'll see when we get to the big ones, they're quite a bit taller. That railway closed down in 1946 because of a tsunami, but then eventually the sugarcane started going away anyway because of the high labor cost when Hawaii became a state and minimum wage was implemented in 1959. So now the sugarcane's gone, but there's a huge variety of other things growing out here. Tropical fruit farms, vegetables, macadamia nuts, coffee, cattle ranching. You can grow almost anything. Used to be a bridge across this gulch on the left. That's Malua Gulch. I'm not sure if it was destroyed in the tsunami or they ended up tearing it down later, but either way it's gone. The road still goes down there, but it kind of does a big horseshoe now. Real dense groves of trees. These are eucalyptus trees. It's another one of the replacements for sugarcane when it went away. Originally, though, it was paper, a paper tree. I mean, that's the plan, right? Turn them into paper. There's a lot more of them coming, too. The problem is we need a paper mill. Paper mills smell terrible. Nobody wants one around, everybody protested. So that never happened. Plan B was cut the trees down and ship them to China and process the trees in China, which they did for a couple of years. And then China stopped buying the trees. And then Plan C, build a biofuel plant where they could burn the trees and turn them into electricity. Which, well, that's a great idea, except the government gave them the permits to build it, and then once they built it, they pulled them back and said, never mind, we don't want you to turn it on. So, the trees, I mean, they've been mature for probably 12, 15 years. Farmers are just waiting. Now, one of the farmers I saw cutting down trees and stacking them up on the side of his field. Like, oh, taking his field back, I guess. Done waiting. Laupahoehoe Point on the left, this big chunk of land sticking out into the ocean. Used to be a school down there. Long time ago, 1946, that same tsunami that ran into the rail system messed up the school here too. But the problem is school was in session. Actually, that's not exactly true. School was about to start. It was like 5 minutes before the morning bell, but it was pretty much worst case because all the kids were outside playing. And they saw the ocean sucking away from the shoreline, and nobody realized, including the teachers, that that was a danger sign, and everybody went closer to figure out what was going on. Then the wave came. But yeah, that was bad. But that disaster opened a lot of people's eyes. So why don't we have a tsunami warning system? So the Pacific Tsunami Warning System we have today is a direct result of all that. This volcano, Mauna Kea, is old but not super old yet. So it's kind of in that state where eruption will happen again someday, pretty sure. They're pretty sure anyway, but very few and far between, and erosion is now quicker than the eruption can fill in the voids. So water, rain, erosion creates the gullies. That's where the streams are coming down, right? And it's just chewing away at the land. When they're young volcanoes, it just fills in with more lava, and it can't ever make these ravines. But now it's older and older, and this will continue. I mean, someday in the distant future, these will be huge, huge valleys. This will be a spectacular shoreline someday. I mean, not that it isn't already, but even imagine valleys, immense, valleys, every one of these. And that also means they're going to have really huge waterfalls someday, because it rains a ton over here. back in 100,000 years. Bunch more eucalyptus trees down here. A whole bunch of them. A little bit of turbulence because we came up over the shoreline and the wind is blowing right now. It's blowing up the cliff and we're getting some bumps because of it. We'll go back over the water in just a second. Here's a good example of trees being stacked up in one of the farmer's properties. I think those are being cut somewhere else and brought here for storage. Probably clearing a field somewhere else. An old sugar mill on the left. Hilo sugar mill. Little town Hilo. These little communities next to the mill, that's where all the workers would have lived. And now they've been getting more and more people and the communities are still growing even though the sugar cane's done. Do you notice there really aren't any beaches over here? We actually don't have very many beaches on the Big Island in general anyway, but there are even less on this side. And it's because, well, so two different reasons. Not very many beaches in general because the Big Island is the youngest Hawaiian island, and beaches take a really long time to form, so there just aren't that many on this island. But the further northwest along the island chain you go, each island down the line gets older and older, and thus they get more and more beaches. Kauai has way more beaches, even though it's smaller. But this side of the island, now the trade winds are blowing, and the wind hits the island and accelerates around the two sides, and this is one of those sides. So the wind, usually very high speed over here, creates a lot of erosion on the shoreline, plus the waves, the combination of the wind and the waves, it's great at making cliffs, but it tends to wash away sand. So the best beaches we do have on the island, they're over on the west side, where it's more sheltered and protected from the wind and the waves. You see the trees are all windswept, flagged, I guess, kind of growing one way. Town of Honoka'a, up here on the left. Honoka'a is home to the last operational sugar mill on the island. Well, it was the last. It closed down in '95, but it was the last one operating. It was right up here. You drive through Highway 19, goes into Honoka'a, and then the highway kind of turns and goes up over the slope back to the dry side from here. It goes up into Waimea. But every time I'm going through Honoka'a, and if I'm hungry, the first thing in my mind is a little restaurant up here called Tex Drive-In. Have you ever had a malasada? Some of us know it, yeah. So a malasada is the Hawaiian version of a donut. And they're super good, but the best malasadas on the island, Tex Drive-In. Tex Drive-In, yep. An old sugar mill here, the one that closed in '95, that's a power station next to it. This diesel fuel operated power station, there's a bunch of these around. Unfortunately, it's an expensive way to do it. We got to import all the diesel fuel. Our electricity rates cost like 4 times the national average. Number 1 in the nation for renewables, Hawaii is, but we still have a long ways to go. We're working on it though. There's a big solar farm going in over on the dry side right now. It should be operational very soon. It looks complete from the air, but it's not. I don't think it's going yet because the solar panels are supposed to tilt with the sun, and they're not doing that yet. It's Maui in front of us. the distance. Hey, we got plenty of fuel. We could make it Maui. The Kohala volcano, the oldest one, we saw it from the other side, or at least talked about it probably in the beginning of the flight. This is Kohala volcano. It's the oldest of 5 on the island, the only one on this island considered completely extinct. Should never erupt again. But because it's old and extinct, it's had more time for all the valleys to form, like we were talking might happen someday on Mauna Kea. The cliffs are huge. The geologists believe about 250,000 years ago, this is where one of those pieces of land broke away and slid into the ocean, created a mega tsunami. Lighthouse on the corner here, Kukui Haile Lighthouse. Waipio Valley. Waipio Valley is the most famous valley on the island. It's also known as the Valley of the Kings. Kings once lived right here. It's where they called home. It's the only valley along Kohala that anybody still lives in full time. Although not nearly as many as were once there. When the Kings were here, they say 4,000 people live down there. Today, it's maybe 100. And those that do live down there, no electricity, no telephone, no cell phone, no internet. For the most part, it's pretty disconnected. But maybe that's the point. The road, there is a road. That's part of the reason anybody does live in here, but it's super steep and it's closed unless you live in the valley. Oh, here we go. So the waterfalls are getting taller. There's one right in front of us. Valley. And I promise we're going to go inside there because it's my favorite. So we'll save it for a minute though. We'll come right back for it. I wanted to show you more of the shoreline here before we disappear back inland. Alright, back to Waimami Valley. This time we're going to go inside. There's actually a campground down here. I used to be able to hike here, but it was 8 hours one way, and now currently the trail is closed. This is my favorite part of the island, this valley. It's also home to the tallest waterfall. I'll show you. Waterfall on our right side, that's Wai'ili Kahi Falls, 1,500 feet tall.